The sequel, Project Cross Zone 2, is coming out in fall 2015. I think it's a good time to look at the second title in the series. And no, it's not Project Cross Zone 2, that game hasn't even came out yet. It's Project Cross Zone, the sequel to Namco X Capcom. Project Cross Zone is a tactical RPG title that was released in June 2013, and it's the first title in the Namco X Capcom series to be released outside Japan. Namco X Capcom originally had Namco and Capcom characters fight together in a fighting game-like format, but in Project Cross Zone, lonely Sega joined in on the crossover. I bought this game on release mainly because I was able to see some characters who haven't been seen in a new game for a while. Missing out on Namco X Capcom, and of course, I love boobs and fighting games, I just had to buy this game. But put those irrelevant reasons to purchase it aside, let's review this game. Players are introduced to two new protagonists, Kogoro Tensai, a descendant of a ninja clan and a detective, and Mii Koryuji, a high-class high school student and under the tutoring of Kogoro. Mainly focused around Mii, her family is revealed to be rich and has had big contributions to history. During 20XX AD, an item dubbed the Portal Stone is stolen from the Koryuji family. Mii doesn't know much about the Portal Stone and therefore obtains the aid of Kogoro to discover what the item's purpose is and to retrieve it. As the story progresses, many people from different times and dimensions end up teleporting to worlds that are not their own, even Kogoro and Mii. These people consist of both heroes and villains. In a desperate need to get home, Kogoro and Mii form a gigantic party to return everyone back home, while searching for the Portal Stone and avoiding those who are exploiting the dimension and time warping for power. The story itself is very easy to understand. In depth, I don't think it had a very deep plotline, and the story was more of a reason to get everyone into an interdimensional war. Compared to Namco X Capcom, the story of Project Cross Zone does not do much to expand it. While the story does bring back the previous main protagonist and antagonist, Reiji, Xiaomu, and Saya, they were more used to start discussion between the alliances they formed in the previous title. For each individual character, aside from Kogoro and Mii, their past isn't developed too heavily, but most or almost all have their history and stories mentioned throughout the story. The spoilers of other games and anime are not that heavy, so I was completely fine reading biographies, and it was really encouraging to go watch a new anime or play a new game. Gameplay in Project Cross Zone has a player controlling units on a map. Each unit consists of a pair and a solo unit. While you can't change who is a pair, you can switch solo units around. This allows for certain units to carry out certain tasks that some may not be able to perform. While on the map, you can scavenge the area for items, use items or skills, or attack. When you perform an attack, graphics are placed in a fighting game fashion. The pair is placed on the right, and can call a solo attack or call for support from a nearby unit. On the top screen, you can see how much of your XP meter is full, your unused attack commands, the amount of attacks you can use, the health of your enemy, and who you can call into battle. On the bottom screen, you can see what attack each button command is associated to, and what attacks your support or solo will use. Pushing the circle pad or directional pad up, left, down, right, or not pushing it, then pressing the A button will allow you to perform the attack commands available. The amount of attacks you can perform are the same amount of button commands that you have, and using each command allows you to perform a bonus attack. Performing your attacks are more effective depending on timing for criticals and keeping your opponent juggled in the air with combos that contribute to more experience points at the end of a turn. You can call upon your other allies to jump in, allowing them to fight with you for a temporary amount of time, being introduced with dialogue and a detailed combo finisher. If a pair and a support or solo unit have attacks that both hit at the same time, a mechanic called cross will activate, leaving your opponent stuck in the area where cross was activated and boosting XP meter gain and allowing it to extend over 100%. XP functions differently to experience points. XP is essentially the super meter of Project Cross Zone. There are three functions: using it for skills or using it for specials and multi-attacks. In battle, pressing Y allows you to do a special attack if the bar is 100% or more. Specials are commonly your source of damage output for boss fights, and they look awesome when used. Multi-attacks are similar to specials, only that they are activated on the map instead of the close-up battlefield. Outside of battle, you're able to customize the equipment that pairs wear and assign soul units to pairs, and test your moves against enemies of different weight classes. The battle system of Project Cars Zone can get repetitive really quickly. Even with moves being learned over level up, it's very easy to unlock a majority of your moves even on hard difficulty. This doesn't get as boring as you don't gain access to all the characters right away, and over time the game transitions smoothly on getting you to learn how to play to fighting strategically in tough situations, forcing you to analyze what your pairs can do and what sequence of moves should be used. With the game also being a war, you'll expect hordes of enemies, and very often a lot of enemies make too many reappearances. There is literally one episode dedicated where all enemies are the same bosses. However, multi-attacks help a lot in clearing these enemies up, which eventually removes the painful feeling of eliminating each enemy one by one. Outside of battle, the organizing equipment is probably the most painful part. It's extremely difficult to organize equipment for 22 players all at once. I don't think that equipment is that important in the normal difficulty, but for those who want a challenge, the hard mode is best played with analyzing which gear is the best. The audio of Project Cars Zone was executed well. A lot of sound effects were fitting, but Project Cars Zone's audio shines well in its voice acting. All characters have Japanese dialogue, and I'm honestly fine with that. A lot of the actors conveyed emotion and often set the mood for the fight. Just hearing "Ikuzo" from the characters express a feeling of an incoming fight. Sometimes it might not be that way, and it could be depressing. The only disappointing point for the music is the duration. You won't be able to listen to an entire song due to turns only lasting 1 to 2 minutes. Though when you beat the game, you can set a default character theme. I'm going to count dialogue as its own separate section. A lot of the dialogue in the story, aside from developing the plot, is humorous. Sometimes the dialogue can be a bit cringeworthy as characters try to talk about friendship. I don't think it was necessary. I can understand that all the protagonists are friends, but there's a stone missing and every world is at risk for domination. But back to the humor, it was actually funny for the characters to mock each other. The humor might be overkill at times, though it felt more intentional. Aside from the story, there are in-battle dialogue. Before and after the battle, pairs have conversations between each other. Most pairs consist of characters of the same game, so some of the conversations are to be expected. With soul units, a unique conversation will initiate with the unit, and every soul unit will have a unique conversation with every pair. The dialogue shows great character development in the battle by showing off how everyone socializes with each other and comparing their lifestyles together.
敵との距離が落ち着け。あ、アメちゃんなのだ。ネネコも欲しいのだ。アメちゃん。来ると、ネネコちゃんの落ち着きがなくなってるから早く。
The art style of Project Cars Zone is definitely an odd one with all these characters. Surprisingly, everyone fits in perfectly. Some characters have art that is more realistic to portray their darker side, and it felt as if all characters existed together. Sprites are also created well. A lot of the detail is put into the animations and graphics, which is made clear from all the stylish executions of attacks. While the details are similar to games on the regular DS, I argue against that. You wouldn't get the same smooth gameplay and animations from the 3DS. Also, speaking of the 3DS, I didn't use the 3D mode very much. Almost like any other 3DS game, the layers are easier to distinguish. There's also lots of sexual innuendo. I don't think that's surprising considering that Morrigan, a succubus, is in the game. The game was definitely worth its value. It cost me $45 and I honestly think I got my money's worth. The story takes around 50 hours for completion, and if you take some effort to play on the hardest difficulty, then have a go at the game. To conclude, Project Cars Zone is a tactical role-playing game that brings a giant group of games together in one story. Each character has their history somewhat covered, and the dialogue is both comedic and true to a character's original game. Gameplay is reminiscent of a first Capcom title, and while repetitive, it does evolve button mashing into strategic planning. The music and sounds are beautiful, which is praised by the game's art style, bringing beautiful sprite animations and tons of sexual innuendo. For around $45, this game is definitely a buy. Let's break it down. For story, I give 6 out of 10. Not extremely deep in plot, but introduces a mix of seriousness and comedy in the atmosphere. Characters stay true to their game. For gameplay, I give 8 out of 10. Repetitive, but eventually evolves into more strategic planning. Having a smooth learning curve and organization is somewhat poor. For sound, I give 10 out of 10. Voice acting represents good emotion and sound effects do not feel misused. Do not play this at full volume in a public area. You'll be declared a pervert. For art, I give 8 out of 10. Sprite animations are detailed inside and outside of battle. The art style of all the characters blends in well, but most her animations are poorly done and could have been better than a still image juggling up and down. To conclude, I give Project Cars Zone an 8 out of 10. Hi peeps, if your opinions were different, feel free to comment your response. I'd also appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching.